So, hey, we'll put a pin in that and we'll see where it goes down the line. But my guy down here, Mr. Navy Man, brought up a topic a week ago. And yes, I did clip it. And yes, I did tell the world because my guy let him know there are frauds in this country, ladies and gentlemen. Frauds. Okay? We talked about on Tuesday that's the undefeated, and there's still some out there. I know my guy's going to talk about it. But this week, let's go into the one-loss teams. Okay, Alec, I'll start with you. I'll start in the Pac 12. We have several one-loss teams, Oregon State and Utah, both
and
at
UCLA
4-1, and UCLA at 3-1. What are your thoughts on them? You talked about them this year. What are your thoughts? Who's a fraud? Who's for real?
I mean, frauds-wise, I would say. Let's see if I can pull up my notes on here that I had. I want to say it's more so. You say it has to be like overall just one-loss teams.
Mm-hmm.
For one-loss teams, I can't really say Utah because it's also they're without their quarterback.
Yep.
And if you look at Oregon State, I mean, I can't really knock them out of it. But look, if you look at Washington last week, Arizona, what's it called? What? Fuck, where's my nose at? Arizona almost got them close towards the end of the game. So it's just like I feel like teams are slowly catching on to everything that's going on in Washington. Not saying Washington's like a fraud in any sort of way, fashion.
I was gonna say I would have gone to bat against you for that.
But the one
Alex
I can
moved
say,
up.
like
I was like, Washington's
it,
one of my sleeper team this year, natty sleeper.
Like USC, I'll say it every single day. Swiss cheese defense. That's what they death taxes in USC not having no defense. You could pull any stat about anything in their defense, and I will still tell you guys straight up, defense is fraudulent. Always will be. Always have. They could be first or fifth, whatever. I've seen that team the last 7 years, and that's one thing they never fix is their defense.
Mm-hmm.
They had a huge lead against Colorado, and they let Colorado come back to even have a chance.
All the way back.
Where you had to recover an onside kick in the last few minutes to lock that win in.
And even with us, like Stanford, the beginning of the game, like we could have if we never would have put on the gas, we could have lost that game. Like I watched the first quarter, I was like, what are we doing? Like Stanford, like it's always those trap games that with the Pac-12 is like you could play a 1-win team and think you have a guaranteed win that week. Not in the Pac-12, but if you look at this week, like UCLA, it's the most fraudulent 3-1 team I've ever seen in my life.
I was waiting for this one.
Because like if you look at their team, it's just like you would think that team was like good in any sort of way fashion. But if I remember last week when I think it was like last week or week before. I think it was like their first play, pick 6 against a Utah team, and like they only put up 7. Like I don't know, like that offense is just not screaming. Like you can say you can beat like NC Central or Coastal Carolina, or even San Diego State, but then you go into Pac-12 play where it really matters, and then you lay a goose egg. Like that, it's fraudulent in any sort of way fashion to have all that talent on their offense to do nothing with it.
So I have a question for you, Alec. With a big time game for them today, UCLA Washington State. If UCLA wins, are they closer to being legit, or is Washington State more of a fraud?
I want to say because Washington State, like I never no one the thing is like before the season, no one really had hopes for Washington State. They were still on the come up.
Oh yeah.
So it would really be them being frauds. It's just they're like equivalent to like this is what we have. Like we don't have high expectations. We're just going out there each week, and they are now 4-0. Not saying like they're fraudulent, but if UCLA wins, it doesn't really knock down Washington State because they were also still seeing what they have this year.
Yeah,
they weren't having high hopes for Pac-12 championship. So in reality, it just makes UCLA not even really a contender because I had no really like before the season. I had no high hopes for Washington State. I say like they were like a sneaky team that can upset you each week if you give the opportunity to. But UCLA, in my opinion,
Oh yeah, oh absolutely.
you have
I mean, shout
all these you have all these studs on your team, and then you go into Pac-12 play and you have no offensive firepower. That burns you in the end. And Washington State is no slouch. Like if whenever you don't score on that drive, you're screwed in the end.
Yeah. Oh yeah. So hey, today's going to show. Today's absolutely going to show because I really want to see. But you're absolutely right with Washington State. They're playing with house money. Shout out to Cameron Ward, 13 touchdowns, no interceptions, and he was my player of the week. Exactly, he's my player of the week. So I love this. I want to see what he can do today, and I think it will help them. But I completely agree. Nobody. Until you get there where they've gone completely undefeated, nobody's going to give Washington State any of that real attention because eventually they know they're going to go up against somebody better. We'll see. We'll see. Alex, I'm coming to you. Big Ten. We know about all the undefeated teams, Maryland, Ohio State, Penn State, and y'all. But then in that next tier, you got some teams, couple normal, Wisconsin at 3-1 and Iowa at 4-1. But then Rutgers,
yeah,
4-1. Woo, I like that. So, what are your thoughts? Who's a fraud? Who's for real?
To me, Wisconsin and Iowa are for real. I mean, me and you, Sean, both said how we actually feel about Washington State. That's Wisconsin's only loss, and Iowa's only loss is to Penn State. So they both lost to currently top 13 programs in the nation. Which is crazy to say about Washington State. But I think they're both legit. As far as Rutgers goes, it's tough to say because, like, I mean, they got whooped by Michigan. That was expected. But then they've run it up on Northwestern, Temple, Virginia Tech, and, I mean, Wagner. But those first three games, those are games that Rutgers doesn't normally run the score up on. And they won all those games by 3 scores. So this week is going to tell a lot because 2 of those kind of one-loss teams play each other. Rutgers is at Wisconsin for noon kickoff today. So that is going to tell a lot for those 2.
So, but is this a similar to a Missouri? Is this similar to a Washington State where it's like, okay, you've been able to win the last couple, but we saw when you come up against a prominent team, you get smacked. So is this just, let's see what nice games are on their schedule? I mean, I guess we'll see today.
Yeah, and I think it's kind of hold off to see until we see how they do against Wisconsin, because for me it was like Michigan, Ohio State, Penn State, and then that second tier was like Maryland, Wisconsin, Iowa, those kind of teams. And then Rutgers was a step below them. So this is really going to tell if Rutgers has climbed up into that second tier or if they're just kind of the best of that third, fourth tier.
Yeah. We'll see going forward. And, hey, hopefully love Greg Schiano, love what they're doing, but not expecting this. So we'll see. We'll see how long this can last. Definitely want to drop love to the ACC, Duke, Mike Elko. Yes, I know with this on my head, everybody's like, "Oh, seriously, you talking about Duke?" Yes, because Riley Leonard, that offense, the way that defense is playing, they went toe to toe with Notre Dame last week. Thankfully, Riley Leonard, it was only a high ankle sprain and not the ACL or anything worse than that. So he should be back eventually. But I think Duke is for real if they can stay healthy. Because they are definitely playing for Elko. You already talked about Elko potentially, being one of the top coaches that might be looked at to move on. So, I mean, he's proven himself. So, yeah, I think they're for real if they can stay healthy.
Yep, I couldn't agree more with that.
So let's go to one that we all have a lot of say in. Let's go to the SEC. Alec, you talked about it. Tennessee's 4-1. Alabama's 4-1, but Ole Miss and Texas A&M are also 4-1. Who can we really believe in this?
Oof. That's
That's a good answer.
a great answer at that point because if you look like, oh, anything with Alabama, I just only talking about because anything I say, it goes opposite direction. Because who's their quarterback for this game? Did they actually meet the
Milrow.
confirmation?
It's still Milrow, yeah.
It's Milrow, yeah.
I don't know. Like, I'm not convinced with that dude. Like, I can't like wake up and be like, yeah, I trust him as my quarterback.
Yeah,
But then
agreed.
you look at Texas A&M, who also, ugh,
Yeah.
this is tough. I have no
I don't
say in
know
this
that I
one.
like Connor Weigman, honestly. There's been a
A&M.
lot of hype going his way. And we're gonna see Weigman and Milrow today. They play each other, A&M and Alabama. I don't feel confident in either of them. I
Hey,
probably
Alex,
feel more confident in Weigman.
This is a perfect question. Is
Who do I
this the
think is
upset alert?
Who do you guys think is an upset alert? Let me look.
Is it? But I'm saying, let's talk about this one. Texas A&M playing Bama. Texas A&M is unranked, and Bama's 11th. We saw a couple years ago with a backup, and Devin Achane, Texas A&M was able to get the upset over number 1 Alabama. Can it happen again today?
It absolutely can. They've only got Bama's only a 2-point favorite, so you can tell that everyone's kind of like, how's this game really going to go?
Yeah.
A&M absolutely can do it. They have the talent to do it. They're going to have to get after Milrow.
Mm-hmm.
In my honest opinion, you know what? Fuck it. Kentucky upsets Georgia.
Wow, you're going for it again.
I'm going
Wow.
for it. I don't care. I'm looking at the stats. I'm looking at the stats. And if you get a repeat performance from Ray Davis, if you get a repeat performance and you go through that fraudulent run defense in Georgia, they will lose. In the hedges, I don't care where you say it, neutral site, Georgia, look out.
That make me crazy.
I knew you were going for that right away.
I had to give it to you, man. That was big.
I expect Kentucky to cover
I have
the
no faith in Carson
spread,
Beck.
but-
The dude looks like a freaking my god. Like if you get that repeat performance from Ray Davis and you look, I can pull it up right now on my stats. Where is the team stats?
I'm just mad that one's on at the same time as Michigan, Minnesota, because
right.
I want to watch that one too. There might be a dual screen action.
Right, yeah. You saw what I was doing last week.
Yes, sir.
Watch, I'm gonna pull it up right now. Because if this stat is true, Kentucky's on the cusp of upsetting.
The X factor for me in this game is going to be Devin Leary. He has to have a big game. If Peyton Thorne could put Georgia on their heels like he did a week ago, Devin Leary has to show whatever it was that he had at NC State, and he needs to bring it here today. If they can do that and have a nice balance with Devin Leary and with that running game, that defense has to get some turnovers, but it is very possible.
Mm-hmm.
But over the last 3 years, we have been at this very spot multiple times saying it is very possible. And each time we're left with egg on our face. So I'm not calling it, but I'm glad you did.
I got Georgia by 10, but I like your call there, Alec. It's one that I don't hate at all.
I love it. God, I hope it happens, man, because it's clipped and it's out there. And you're famous. Let's go.
Because you look at their stats, their offense, they only allow 148 yards a game. But then you play Mickey Mouse teams, and then you played Auburn last week, and you thought that was going to be a dog walk. Like, oh, we're playing against Auburn. There's no way we lose this one. You almost lost to Auburn. And then you're going against Kentucky, who's going off momentum. And that's one thing I've noticed about Kentucky. Once they're on momentum, it's no stopping them. And if you continue that run game, if hold true, if they pound the rock on that Georgia's fraudulent defense, Kentucky will win that game.
So
If
wait.
that happens.
Hold up. Are you saying that if a team, even if they're 0-4 on Thursday night, has momentum that they could beat a team that has 2 wins?
I mean,
Oh,
I'm not gonna lie to
Bears.
you. I mean, in your defense, Ron Rivera's your head coach, man.
No.
He needs to go. That dude's not him, man.
if
The Bears put up 40 on us.
See, the thing is,
Yeah.
managers did all this. They changed ownership, changed quarterback, but you still have that clown as your head coach.
oh,
So until that
Wow.
changes, ain't shit changing in Washington.
All right. I brought this on myself, so I'm
Yeah.
taking it back to college.
I'm gonna say I'll rope it back for you. If Kentucky can take anything from Georgia's game tape,
Mhm.
throw all 11 guys on Brock Bowers and make them figure it out somewhere else.
There it is.
Because if Brock Bowers runs wild like he did against Auburn late in that game, it's
Yeah.
over.
Yeah.
You've got the fraudulent defense, according to Alec. You've got all this other stuff, but Brock Bowers himself is a game breaker.
Right.
Whether you hand it off to him, whether you throw it and he's running through tackles like he's freaking Gronk, Brock Bowers is arguably, just regardless of position, the best college football player in
It is.
the U.S. So, like,
He's proved it.
do whatever you have to do to shut down Brock Bowers.
Yep.
And you have a chance against that offense.
And I'll piggyback on that and say also Dejon Edwards, that running game. If you can sit there and hold that running game at bay, we all know they lead with their run and they go play action. And then you got Brock Bowers coming off the block and running, up the field. So you got to stop the running game. The exact thing that the Bears did to Washington. All right, we're moving on. So we talked about Big Ten, Pac-12, SEC. I'm going to go real quick. The Big 12, West Virginia, Kansas, and BYU 4-1. West Virginia and BYU, I love to see this. And I'm glad that we're seeing it because Neil, the coach of West Virginia, was on the hot seat coming into this year, and these guys are showing up. These guys are doing what they need to do, but they always have big years in the Big 12 if they have a team. We've seen what they can do. I want to look at Kansas. Kansas started off undefeated last year, and then once Daniels got hurt, obviously, they weren't able to sustain it. This year, they start off undefeated again, and then they get that loss. But are they still for real? Can we still believe in them?
Yes, because if you look at it again, the 2 years line up. They're undefeated. Daniels gets hurt, and then they start to lose.
Yep.
Jake Bean's a pretty good quarterback, but he's not good enough to put you up against Quinn Ewers and Dylan Gabriel and these other top quarterbacks in the conference. He's just not. So, for me, I think as long as they have Daniels as their quarterback, Kansas is a legit, arguably top 15 program in the country. But without him, they're probably not worthy of being ranked.
Yeah, that's pretty true. That's pretty true. Oh.
There's the phone call.
There's the call.
That's the Missouri fan calling me, talking about how his team's going to win today.
Oh, my goodness. Wow. Scott has your number?
I was just going to say, what is Scott's number?
My friend from back home, that's a Missouri fan, thinks that Missouri is like the all God and mighty.
Oh,
like, dude, give it up, man. Team's trash.